Hello and welcome to Bottom Line. Well, the state of Meghalaya is now going ahead with contact tracing measures on a war footing. With no cases till Sunday, Meghalaya recorded its first COVID-19 positive case on Monday night, and as we speak today, technically 7 positive cases have been detected. But the good news is that some 50 samples tested in GMCH Guwahati Medical College Hospital have tested negative. More results are awaited. Samples were sent across Assam also. Meanwhile, samples were tested in Nigrims as well. Of the samples that were tested, the 64 that were tested in Nigrims, 6 turned positive, 6 were sent for retesting, the rest were negative. So the state government is taking all the measures as far as contact tracing is concerned. But yes, it is known that the battle is far from over. At the same time, there is also a sort of sense of panic in parts of Shillong. Curfew was imposed soon after the first COVID-19 case was detected on Monday. And yes, it is understood why there may be a sense of unease, why there may be a sense of panic, because with no cases till Monday night, all of a sudden you have 6 to 7 cases the next day. It's only natural for there to be certain panic. But yes, the bottom line is that this is the moment when people, governments, regional bodies, everyone needs to come together and fight this unitedly, as the entire globe, the entire country is doing. So how is Meghalaya faring? To take the discussion forward, I'll be joined by Congress leader Amparin Lingdo from Shillong. Also joining me from Shillong in a short while would be John Thaba, senior journalist and general secretary of MEPA. Psychologist Namrata Rinja, who is now based in IIT Guwahati but is currently in Shillong, is also joining me in this discussion. And I'll also have Dr. Prasenjit Biswas from Professor Nehu joining me shortly in course of a discussion. I would like to go to Congress leader, former Minister Amparin Lingdo first. Welcome, ma'am, to Bottom Line. My first question, are you satisfied with the way the Meghalaya government and the state health department has handled this current crisis so far since the first case was reported on Monday night?
See, the word satisfied is not really the correct word for me to kind of, discuss this whole scenario that is unfolding in the state of Meghalaya. There are some gaps, and these gaps need to be quickly filled in because it is very conflicting at one point to suddenly hear that there has been a COVID-19 case in the state, and then all of a sudden, like in just about 24 hours, the person is deceased. So it's all very shocking, and most of us know the person concerned, and it is very painful because out of the blue, this thing unfolds, and then out of the blue, we now know that a hospital has become the hotspot of this whole thing. There's a lot of confusion in the community, and I want to handle this with great care. You see, that a case has come to the state of Meghalaya is in itself already a big concern. And it is very unfortunate to see that there are so many individuals in the community passing all kinds of comments about, why did this COVID-19 case ever happen in the state of Meghalaya? So the first thing that I want to set straight as a leader in this state is that COVID-19 happens. Where it comes from, how it comes from are all questions which need thorough understanding and thorough follow-up. So we have to just ensure that now that the COVID-19 has been established in the state of Meghalaya, and we're well aware that the hotspot in this particular case is a hospital. We need to start figuring out things really fast so that this confusion reduces and there is less fear in the minds of the people about the potentials of being compromised, and that the numbers may suddenly increase very quickly. So that's my take on this whole thing. I don't know whether we need to blame a government or whether or not,
Not at all.
but then it is very scary. It is very scary because it's a hospital, and we need to figure out exactly where is the source of this
Now,
contact, so
yeah.
that we'll be able to trace and we'll be able to treat at the
Yeah,
earliest.
that brings me to my next question. As you rightly mentioned, COVID-19 happens. It is happening across the globe, and this is not the time to play the blame game. It is the time to come together to fight the menace, to tide over the crisis. But don't you think, Kamprain Lingdo, at the same time, it is equally important at this moment to find out how did the virus enter the state so that the entire contact tracing exercise can be brought to its logical end at the earliest? The state should be fully aware where all it needs to act, where all it needs to activate its medical teams. It's already doing a good job. But for instance, one thing that still remains unanswered in a way is how did the first patient from the state get infected? This is something that we need to do. Nobody is questioning the role of the state government. Identifying 2,000 people in a period of 18 hours is a job good enough. But then we still have to find out how did it enter. What's your take on that?
Correct, correct. Now, if we delay, and if we presume that the source came from someone in his family who was out of station and had gone overseas, it's just a presumption. Because if somebody is telling me that it is X source, then the X source has to be immediately verified, and clarifications need to be given to the people of the state, so that there could be a concerted effort by all concerned to try and track down as many of these people who had come into contact with the hospital. You see, because it's a hospital. You see, another thing that is happening in the state, which is quite similar to what's happening across every other state and across every other country, is the fact that there is this stigmatization that is going on. And now that's another very scary manifestation of this whole issue, and it complicates the issue that much more. It is very disheartening to see that staff of the hospital living in other localities, patients who had been discharged recently in the last 4 or 5 days, are now being stigmatized, and communities around these individuals are making it that much harder for these individuals. I feel that even the family concerned, there is a lot of uh, unnecessary talk that is adding a lot of pain to this already very painful situation. So the moment the government can rule out and can say for a fact that X is the factor for this case in the state of Meghalaya, then immediately we can go on a concerted, positive step to try and figure out where the contact line is, who is patient zero, and what does this whole scenario look like, and how do we expect it to unfold in the coming days.
Absolutely, absolutely. If I can go to Namrata Rinja now. Namrata Rinja, of course, a psychologist with IIT Guwahati, right now based in Shillong, staying in Shillong these days. Namrata, these are tough times. Shillong is witnessing a crisis which is probably unprecedented. From no COVID cases 2 days ago to 7 cases, technically speaking, now, and it has a lot of psychological impact on the people of the city. Critical times, testing times. Really, really hard to deal with these times. What's your take?
Yes, of course. It's quite unfortunate. We were very happy with the situation and how things were turning out. And of course, definitely very unfortunate news, and tough times. And it psychologically, it does have a lot of impact. People were anyways, even prior to this news, were quite anxious of what was going to happen. And fear seems to be it plays a huge part in these times. So yes, psychology and mental health issues really get accelerated during unpredictable
And,
times.
and, and what we have also noticed is this is probably common human behavior, that when faced with a complex situation, a difficult situation, we sometimes tend to try and blame the entire situation on something or someone. That's not because we are bad, but then we are fearful and feel helpless. And what has been noticed in social media in the last 2 days is some people saying, oh, we were all fine 2 days back, this should not have happened. But the least we can do at this moment maybe is to stand together and fight together, isn't it?
Yeah, of course. And you're absolutely right. We're human beings, and by nature, we're logical creatures. If we can't make sense of things, if there's no rationale, it's difficult for us to understand. So, fear is very unpredictable. The fear right now is very unknown. So, you're absolutely right in saying that, yes, we want to make sense of things. And it's so easy to get angry. It's so easy for fear to translate into anger, because expressing fear is difficult. Expressing anger comes much more naturally to us. So we try to look for how do we make sense of things, who do we blame, what do we say. And people are that's just their way of expressing fear. And it's not that they're evil or they're bad. And it's just that this is our way of trying to understand what is happening. It's our way of trying to help ourselves come to conclusion and get closures with certain things. But as you also mentioned, it is also a time to come together as humans. We also have this, we are social beings. So learning to overcome this fear, learning to kind of get over the anger, to come together, to say, what can we do to help? How do we work together as a community? Meghalaya is a very close-knit community. We've survived, and even humans, we have survived because we have functioned as a community always. So again, this is a time for us to come together, to empathize, to understand, make sense of things without allowing this negativity to creep in. It's very easy for it to come, I understand, but our better sense has to prevail right now, and we have to kind of look towards the positive of things, the constructive of things.
Absolutely.
And what do we do from here?
Have to stand together. Have to stand together in this time of crisis. Ampareen Lingdo, now again, it's maybe is easy for people to sit in their living rooms and make remarks, but the situation is critical, very difficult. Even developed nations like the US are finding it difficult to control things. But again, in a way, the fact that we have to assume that the doctor, the first patient in Meghalaya was detected to be positive at a later stage. Does that hint at a lacuna somewhere? And I'm not questioning the state of Meghalaya in this. It's overall. Maybe it hints at a lacuna that we were not able to prevent things despite a lockdown being in place. I don't want to say that we failed. That would be wrong. But could we have avoided this situation? Probably. That is a question many are also asking.
Yes, and the very fact that a test has to go first to one center, and then it has to again be verified in another center, and then again it has to be reconfirmed in another center. See, these are all delayed, steps that government is forced to take. And at the very beginning, the protocol under which testing was mandated, I think that is where we may have gone terribly wrong. The very fact that X person had come from a particular route and had probably had a very high probability of having exposed himself to a contact was not tested on time, and then after 30 days, if the test is done, if he's negative, is that a possible link to him being the contact? Or could it have been some other patient that went to the hospital and actually the contact took place? So these are all unanswered questions which need quick discovery. You need to tell us so that we know that the government is on the job, the government is aware of what is going on, and the government for sure knows who to target and how quickly can these tests be done. Because, samples were taken since yesterday. And these samples are now going from one testing center to another testing center. And you'll notice that these samples are now going distances like very far distances, say Negrams to Kolkata, Negrams to Guwahati. So it's still very scary for the people of Meghalaya, and we are all concerned.
Absolutely, very scary. Namrata Rinja, probably people are in need of counseling more than ever at this moment. What would you say?
Yes, now more than ever we do. In fact, studies, and you will, if you read resources across the globe, you'll see that mental health cases have accelerated throughout this time, when the pandemic was declared and when lockdown was declared. So it's so important more than ever now for us to kind of step in and for people to start understanding the sensitivities around mental health issues. So reaching out to a counselor is a very good way to start. And if not, get into resources. Like I've noticed that the Ministry of Health and Family Welfare have put up several resources related to how to manage stress during this time. There are a lot of YouTube videos and a lot of reliable information on how to help yourself. Meditation, yoga. They've put a lot of videos up which can be accessed
Yes, now
easily online.
and again, Namrata, you are from Meghalaya, you belong to Meghalaya, even though you're based in Guwahati now. But what lessons you think in Meghalaya take from its culture, its tradition, its way of life to fight this crisis together? I'm sure there are many that can bind and bring people together in this hour of crisis.
I think we're a very helping society. It's there in our genes. If there's a death in the community, we don't wait for the family members to tell us what to do. Immediately we rush in to say, how can we help? What do we do? And although right now physical distancing is encouraged and we have to practice it, but I think we can help each other out because, even here at home in my own locality, I've noticed my mother talking to my neighbors from her balcony. I can see children communicating to each other through this. So reach out, please. Let's not lose touch with what we have, what is so natural to us. Use technology, use social media to kind of check in on your friends, to check in on your relatives from time to time. Use what you have at hand to help yourself
All right, all right.
without breaking the norms, the
We have a
barriers,
fresh
and the
reaction coming
recommendations
in from
provided by
the Meghalaya Chief Minister Conrad Sangma.
policymakers and such.
Yeah, let's listen in to the fresh reaction from Meghalaya Chief Minister Conrad Sangma.
Opportunity, first of all, to express my condolences, my deepest condolences to the bereaved family. And I would also like to mention that I know that they're going through a very tough time. And I would like to say that may God give all the strength to them this trying times to bear all this pain and difficulty that they're going through. Friends, we also would like to inform you that we have had a total of 118 tests that have the results of which have come out. 68 came out late last night, and 50 came out in the afternoon, late afternoon today. So out of these 118 cases, in the initial 68 cases, 6 had tested positive, and another 6 had to be retested. But the rest of those 68 cases were negative. And most of the people who tested positive were mostly the immediate family and house members of the patient. Apart from that, we received 50 results today from GMC. And out of these 50 results, all have tested negative. And we are waiting for another 43 from Barpeta Medical College. The results of that we should be receiving soon, but I don't have that with me right now. Apart from that, friends, I would also like to mention that different arrangements have been made to ensure that different people who were working in Bethany or were primary contacts have been isolated, and we're in a continuous process to contact, trace as many of them as possible. And the more the primary contacts which are there, we're trying to ensure that they are isolated and quarantined, and the testing is done at the earliest. In this, we'd like to inform you that from the government of Meghalaya side, we have made a lot of arrangements in all these locations. There are a number of Corona care centers. We have more than almost 600 isolation units that are ready, and all of them will be used for this purpose. I would also like to inform that arrangements have also been made to ensure that food and other facilities are provided to these people who are in the isolation wards. I received some complaints today that food was not reaching on time, but we have been having some challenges because the volunteers who were trained to distribute this in a proper and protocol manner within the Corona Care Centers were not able to reach these centers because of certain restrictions in certain localities and maybe some families restriction and some other challenges that they faced. I would like to urge the society in general and our headmans and Rangbashnongs and elders that if they could be supportive at this time and allow these volunteers and other health officials and government officials to kindly come to duty so that our services are not affected. I can assure you that all the strictest protocols are being maintained, and these are protocols that are set by Government of India. So therefore, all these measures will be taken so that each and every one of them is safe. I also got some complaints about 108 and the helpline not responding at some times. Friends, I had made personally twice calls to 108, and both times I got response in a very short time. There are a number of calls coming to 108, and there could be situations where because of overload, they're not able to reply back or answer the calls. I urge you to be patient and to keep trying, and I'm sure that 108 will respond. Friends, here I would also like to mention about contact tracing. Now, I have received some concerns about people saying that they have contacted 108, they have registered, but nobody has contacted them yet. Friends, we are really following a basic principle and protocols of contact tracing. What this means is the primary contacts are the most important and the first to be dealt with, and then we go into the secondary contacts. The primary contacts are the people who have come directly in touch or in contact with the concerned patient. Therefore, that would mean immediate family, immediate people in the house, immediate staff and the people around, or the people that the patient might have met on a day-to-day basis. So those are the primary contacts. Government and the protocol requires us to ensure that these primary contacts are first tested and quarantined immediately. And the protocol also says that the secondary contacts should ensure that they are isolated.
So that was Meghalaya Chief Minister Conrad Sangma. They are informing 118 samples have been tested so far as part of the contact tracing measures. Only 6 have tested positive, 6 sent for retest, but the number of positive cases so far is 6 from these 118 samples. Well, I'm also being joined now from Shillong by Dr. Prasenjit Biswas, Professor Nehu, and also John Thaba, General Secretary MEPA, Meghalaya Editors and Publishers Association. If I can go to John Thaba first. John Thaba, what is your assessment of the state government's response to the crisis that unfolded since Monday night? How do you see that? And do you think the state government has done all that it could?
The state government has swung into action ever since the detection of the first COVID case in Meghalaya. And the first thing that the government did was to seal up the hospital, that is the Bethany Hospital, where the patient was found of having infected by COVID-19. And after that, the state government also immediately imposed a 48-hour curfew in the whole state to ensure that people remained indoors so that this infection could be prevented. And another thing was that the government also conducted the contact tracing of all the people who have been in contact with the patient since before 22nd of March, and also till the date of detection was found by the government. And so far, as far as I know, is that let me tell you, 185 persons have been found to have been in contact with the patient, and these samples have been, the swab samples have been sent for testing, and out of these, 161 are from East Khasil district and 24 from Riboy district. And till today, I can inform you that 50 samples that have been sent to Guwahati
Yeah,
Medical
we just had this fresh reaction
they have been,
coming in
tested
from
negative.
the Meghalaya Chief Minister.
And the samples of 43 samples, the results of the 43 samples.
Yes, we have got that 118 tested, only 6 positive. Prasanjit Biswas, Dr. Prasanjit Biswas, how do you gauge the situation in the state at the moment? Of course, it is only understood that there had been a sense of panic because from no case to 7 cases, 6 cases. So clearly, yes, there was a sense of unease. But with aggressive contact tracing being pursued, how do you gauge the situation now?
Yes, the contact tracing work has to be done rapidly and appropriately. If all the contacts are traced in the right way and the samples are collected and tested, it would be possible to assess to what extent this virus is affected. Now, fortunately, most of the samples tested negative, and that is one positive news for the state of Meghalaya. Therefore, contact tracing, along with that prevention of the virus, by ensuring that people do not come in touch with the infected people is a must, for which the government of Meghalaya has followed the protocols prescribed by the Ministry of Health of Government of India, and they have also followed the new guidelines that MHA has provided this morning. Therefore, as far as the following of the right course of action is concerned, state of Meghalaya is doing its best, and probably it is doing it in an exemplary way. The way quickly it could gather all the contacts, the way it is doing quarantine work, the way it is trying to manage even the food and immunization issues related to COVID-19 are all very, very commendable. Therefore, I see that there is no reason to panic, and state of Meghalaya will be able to overcome this difficulty that is currently posed by this sudden increase in the number of cases.
Absolutely. If I can go to Amparin Lingdo. Amparin Lingdo, you have been an administrator for a long time, plus a leader. These are testing times, and as you rightly mentioned, a lot of stigma is unfortunately involved. Some people, especially on social media, are reacting in a way probably they should not. Under these circumstances, what should be the approach of the government? What role can the traditional bodies, the Dorbars, play in such a situation? Because everyone has to come together in this time of crisis.
See, the very fact that your network has taken technology and has contacted a legislator sitting somewhere else in another part of the state or in another part of the country. See, we all have this technology. The government still has access to the same technology that even a news channel like you is using. So we need now to quickly intervene. Say, for example, this afternoon, there was an SOS call that was sent out from the Bethany Hospital saying that inmates in the hospital did not have adequate food supply. Now, what can we do? The government needs to immediately act. If food supply is a concern for inmates who are under lockdown in the concerned hospitals, who are the institutions that can be called? So if only we had used technology and we had quickly contacted all stakeholders concerned, we could have sorted these things out much quickly. There still seems a lot of unanswered concerns that citizens in general feel. For example, one does not contact COVID-19 in the air. This is something which the Darbars need to be told. This is a very simple explanation. So we need to immediately get in touch with all stakeholders so that we can then coordinatedly address this problem. Because if we don't do it, then it's going to be difficult. And then you're going to be having more tension. And you're going to be having more and more complicated situations which are completely unnecessary. Completely unnecessary. So government at this point of time should use all channels. All channels. Immediately we need to tell all the bars that you cannot isolate staff from hospitals staying in your localities. Now, in that event, if these individuals feel that they can no longer go and come, to continue their service in hospital, then government should immediately find an alternative place of stay for these individuals. Say, for example, I'm a doctor. Now I know that COVID-19 is in the city, and I know now that I could come into contact with any individual that could be a carrier of the disease. So I think at this stage, like every other state, government of Meghalaya needs to quickly make the necessary arrangements. Do not allow medical staff who are likely already on duty in testing centers and screening centers in various institutions to go back to their families and again expose the families, because we've just seen what happened to the family of the reputed doctor who lost his life. The first people who were immediately compromised were the family members. Even a child of 2 years old has the virus. So now it's like this is the reality of this virus. And we should not blame anyone, but we should try to get to the bottom of things and try to trace and track these individuals so that you can treat them at the earliest. Contain the disease, that is what we need to do now.
Yes. Now, I'm very linked to the moment the COVID-19 case was detected on Monday night, the East Khasi Hills District Administration decided to impose a curfew. Of course, it was done with all the good intentions to prevent people from coming out. But then, a nationwide lockdown was already in place. Probably, the curfew part technically could have been avoided, and maybe the lockdown imposed with more rigor without pronouncing that word curfew, because that, when you hear curfew, okay, there's a curfew from tomorrow, it has arrived, that may also have crept in a bit of a sense of a panic.
Yeah, and sending the DIPR vehicle at 1:32 in the morning to all parts of the city to wake up sleeping citizens, saying that, okay guys, don't get out, there's a curfew, so all of you stay indoors, no one's allowed to come out. That added to the pressure, and that made us all much more scared. So all sleeping people also were woken up by that vehicle going from one locality to another, waking up people and saying, hello, hello. Okay, so COVID is here now, guys, so I don't know whether that was a good thing to do or not a good thing to do. At this point of time, I want to be responsible. I just don't want to pin down anyone. But we need to kind of plan every move we make. And this secondary list, this primary list that they have brought out, what were the parameters for all of these lists? Because many people who have visited Bethany, for example, are trying to call both 108 and 1070, but there has been a little response there. We're not able to manage the manning of these two numbers at this critical point. For example, my PSO, I just want to share with you, had to drop his pregnant wife to Bethany because she was due for a delivery. He went to the hospital. His wife is now locked down in the hospital. He has a 2-year-old son. Now his 2-year-old son has been whisked away by the domestic help and the caregiver of this little boy. Now my PSO has registered on that website. Nobody's called him to tell him what to do. Now his wife will likely be shifted out to another government hospital for the actual C-section. So he still doesn't know whether he should he be responsible and remain indoors under quarantine, or should he just go to his wife, who now already is under
Yeah,
tremendous pressure
yeah, these
and
are serious
going to be
concerns. Well,
having a
I
C-section.
have a breaking news. I have a breaking news coming in. The consignment of medical equipment from China has just landed. Medical equipment, PPEs, kits. A special cargo flight from China has just reached the Gopinath Port LGBI Airport in Guwahati, carrying personal protection equipment, ventilators, and other consignments. So this is the first consignment from China. Medical supplies from China has just arrived in Guwahati. We'll be joined over the phone line by our editor-in-chief Wasbir Hussain to give us more on that. Uh, So,
Yes,
yeah,
yes.
Wasbir, the first consignment from China has just arrived. This is big, considering that only a week back China was diverting this consignments to the US, consignments meant for India. So we have here in Guwahati the first the medical equipment consignment landing from China, Wasbir.
Yes, Nabarun, this is the big breaking story. At this point in time, the special flight from Guangzhou city in China has just arrived a little while back at the Borjar airport. Assam Health Minister Dr. Himanta Biswa Sharma and senior health officials are already at the airport. They're personally there to receive this particular consignment. This indicates the importance which is given by the Assam government to these medical supplies which have just arrived from this Chinese city. And this is a Blue Dart flight, special cargo flight operated by the carrier Blue Dart. And this is a Boeing flight which has just landed at the Borjar airport short while ago, with Assam Health Minister Dr. Himanta Biswa Sharma personally present at this point in time as we speak at the Borjar airport and receiving the consignment. And Nabarun, this is, as you have very rightly said, this is a very big development. And as the health minister has confirmed a short while ago, this is a consignment directly ordered by the Assam government and supplied to the Assam government. It is as simple as that. Ordered by the Assam government and supplied to the Assam government. And that is the visuals, Nabarun. These are the visuals which have just landed of the flight. It's a special flight which have just landed. The Borja airport is the first visuals exclusive on your screen. That these are the visuals, Nabarun, which describes, and we'll wait and watch if we can spot the Assam Health Minister there. We'll have to wait and watch.
Yeah, he is there on the screens right now as you speak, Wasbir. Yeah, continue.
Yes, that is the Assam Health Minister Dr. Himanta Biswa Sharma on the screen at Borjar Airport to receive the consignment of the medical supplies. This is absolutely unprecedented, Nabarun. A state government directly ordering so much of medical equipment on its own as part of its preparedness to deal with a pandemic. This is something extremely unique and a lot of lessons to be learned by the other states across India. Actually, this is what the Assam Health Department has done. Directly ordered this medical equipment in this flight, Nabarun. Let me tell you, it contains at least 50,000 personal protection equipment, which will come in extremely handy for our medical personnel, the doctors, nurses, paramedics, and other frontline workers, Nabarun. Apart from, of course, the very, very critical ventilators, which are necessary for those when the situation becomes critical. Those critical patients require ventilator support. This is what is the breathing difficulty. This is one of the main symptoms of COVID-19, breathlessness and breathing difficulties. Therefore, the ventilator is a very, very important piece of medical equipment. And that is what this plane carries: 50,000 PPEs, ventilators, and other essential medical equipment. Nabarun, this is extremely unprecedented. What do you think?
And Wasbir, so this entire consignment is meant for Assam. That's what we understand.
Absolutely, you are right. The entire consignment is meant for Assam, and that is what the health minister has clearly said a short while ago. He said that Assam government has placed these orders and it has been delivered by this company. We also understand that this is a Hong Kong-based company which was placed the order, and they must have. So I'm speculating. This is, but what is correct is that it was a Hong Kong-based company to which the order was placed, and they must have sourced these equipments and materials from China, and it was finally taken off for Guwahati from the city of Guangzhou. This particular flight took off from Guangzhou airport at 4:15 Indian Standard Time, and it has landed around 8:15. So it has taken exactly a little more than 4 hours. It has taken 4 hours from Guangzhou to Guwahati for this non-stop flight that's carried these medical equipment. Nabarun.
And this is exemplary, Vasbir. I mean, Assam has been way ahead in terms of preparations, as we saw days before the first case in the northeast was even reported. Assam had a 700-bed quarantine facility already in place in the Saru Sajai Stadium. Assam had 4 to 5 COVID hospitals ready. Assam converted civil hospitals into COVID hospitals. And now we see Assam also becomes the first to get a consignment of medical equipment from China. So clearly, Assam, especially the dynamic health minister, led the entire thing, led by the dynamic health minister, leading the way for rest of the states in the country to follow, maybe.
Absolutely. You are bang on, Nabarun. This is something absolutely unprecedented. It has set an example as to how a state can lead in a battle against a disaster. This talks about the disaster preparedness, at least in the health sector in Assam. That has been clearly demonstrated by the Health Minister, Dr. Himanta Biswa Sharma. First, as you very rightly said, setting up the infrastructure, isolation wards, quarantine wards, exclusive COVID hospitals, training the paramedics and the medical professionals, and now getting this equipment from an international company and getting a chartered aircraft to bring it all the way from China to land in Guwahati's border airport. So this is something absolutely unique. It will take some time before this equipment is cleared, and in fact there will be routine customs clearance and so on and so forth. There are very senior officials present at the airport at this point in time, senior officials of the Airports Authority of India, customs officials, the health minister himself, and accompanied by top Assam health officials, Nabarun. And as you very rightly said, this is something which the nation, the state governments in other parts of the country have to learn from the example that Assam has set in its battle, or rather preparedness, to fight the pandemic.
And Vasbir, moreover, this consignment comes at a time when, of course, in mid-March there was less equipment, but there were no cases either. And then within a span of a week and 10 days, Assam had close to 80,000 PPE kits. And still the state went ahead to get this deal done. This speaks volumes.
Nabarun, that is the
yes,
Blue Dart aircraft.
Yes.
That is the aircraft.
These are the first visuals.
That has landed. It's a narrow-bodied Boeing 752 aircraft. It's a narrow-bodied Boeing 752 plane. Yes, that is the visuals of the plane. That is the plane which is in Borja Airport at this point in time, viewers, as you can see. And this is the plane which is carrying this huge cargo of medical equipment, including the personal protection equipment, the ventilators, and other.
These are live visuals now on screen. These are live visuals on screen now. There you can see the Assam Health Minister. Yes, live visuals, these. So big development. Vasbir, no question of, lack of equipment now, that's for sure. In Assam, in the northeast, that's for sure.
Nabarun, let me also tell you, no dearth of equipment for Assam, and take it from me. Well, this is lot of reasons to cheer for the entire.
We have a reaction coming in, Vasbir. Let's listen in.
PPE কিটছৰ জোৰা মাৰিবৰ বাবে চীনৰ গুৱানজাও প্ৰদেশৰ পৰা এতিয়া বিশ্বলৈকে PPE কিটছ ক্ৰয় কৰি থকা হৈছে। ভাৰত চৰকাৰে ইতিমধ্যে কিছু PPE কিটছ দেশৰ বাবে ক্ৰয় কৰিছিল আৰু গোটেই বিশ্বৰ ৰাষ্ট্ৰবিলাকে PPE কিটছ তাৰ চাইনাৰ পৰা গুৱানজাও প্ৰদেশৰ পৰা ক্ৰয় কৰি আছিল। আমি চেষ্টাত আছিলোঁ যাতে আমি বৰ্তমান 1000 2000 3000 কৈ কিনি আছিলোঁ। আমাৰ মনত সংশয় আছিল যদি PPE কিটছ কেতিয়াবা কমি যায়, আমাৰ ডক্টৰ নাৰ্ছসকলে ডিউটি কৰিব ভয় খাব, ডিউটি কৰিব নোৱাৰিব। আমি এটা চেষ্টাৰ পিছত আজি প্ৰথমবাৰৰ বাবে খুব সম্ভৱ ভাৰত চৰকাৰে কিনিছে, কিন্তু ৰাজ্য চৰকাৰ হিচাপে আমি প্ৰথম ডাইৰেক্ট আজি ইম্পৰ্ট কৰিবলৈ সফল হ'লোঁ 50,000 PPE কিটছ আজি আমাৰ মাজত একেলগে আহি পৰিলে কালি আমি সেইবিলাক চেক কৰাৰ পিছত বা ষ্টেৰাইল কণ্ডিশ্যন আদি চোৱাৰ পিছত লাহে লাহে আমাৰ চিকিৎসকসকললৈকে দিব পাৰিম আমাৰ এটা ডাঙৰ অভাৱ এক প্ৰকাৰ দূৰ হ'ল বুলি আজি আমি ক'ব পাৰোঁ এইটো ইয়াত দুটা পন্থা আছিলে আমি প্ৰায় 21 তাৰিখৰ পৰা আমি এই কামত লাগি আছিলোঁ আমাৰ অসমত যি আমি অপাৰেশ্যন স্মাইলৰ কাম কৰোঁ তাৰ কাউণ্টাৰ পাৰ্ট চাইনাটো অপাৰেশ্যন স্মাইল আছে গতিকে আমাৰ এই গুৱাহাটীৰ অপাৰেশ্যন স্মাইলে আমাক চাইনাৰ অপাৰেশ্যন স্মাইলৰ লগত লগাই দিছিলে তাৰ পিছত সেই এটা ৰাস্তা দি আমি সোনকালে প্লেনত উঠোৱা সোনকালে আমাৰ পেলেটছ কৰা সোনকালে তাক লৈ অহা এই গোটেই কামবিলাক আমি তাৰ পৰা সহায় পাইছিলোঁ আৰু তাক বাদ দি যাক আমি আনিবৰ কাৰণে দায়িত্ব দিছিলোঁ বা যিসকলে কাম পাইছিলে তেওঁলোকেও খুব ভাল কৰি বিশ্বক্ষণতাৰে কামটো কৰাৰ বাবে আজি আমি ইয়াত আহি গোটেই সামগ্ৰীখিনি পাবলৈ সক্ষম হ'লোঁ আমাৰ 1 লাখ PPE কিট মজুত আছিলে আজি 50,000 PPE কিট আমাৰ আহি পালে আৰু ভৱিষ্যতে এতিয়া সাপ্লাই লাইনটো আমাৰ খুলি গ'ল কেতিয়াবা যদি আমি লাগে আৰু আনিবলৈ আমি পাৰিম আৰু ভাৰতৰ ভিতৰতো কিছু আমাৰ কিনা হৈ থাকিব গতিকে 2 লাখ যিটো আমি বাফাৰ ষ্টক বনাম বুলি ভাবিছিলোঁ PPE কিটছৰ সেইটো এক প্ৰকাৰ সম্ভৱ হৈ পৰিল হ'ব আজিতো বহুত ষ্টেটে আমাৰ ভিডিঅ' কনফাৰেন্সত সব ৰাজ্যৰ স্বাস্থ্য মন্ত্ৰীসকলে PPE কিটছৰ কাৰণে হেঁচা দি আছিলে কিন্তু অসমৰ কাৰণে এতিয়া বহুত ডাঙৰ এটা ৰিলিফ হৈ গ'ল আমাৰ কাৰণে মুকলি হৈ গ'ল এতিয়া মই ডক্টৰ নাৰ্ছসকলক ক'ব পাৰিম যে আপোনালোকে ভয় কৰিব নালাগে আৰু এইখিনি বহুত উচ্চ মানদণ্ডৰ PPE গতিকে খুব ভাল কামত আমি লগাব পাৰিম আৰু অলপ ভেন্টিলেশ্যন আনিব কাম বাকী আছে সেইখিনিও যদি হৈ যায় বহুতখিনি আমি মুকলি বতাহ পাম আৰু আজি আমাৰ এনেও ভাল যে 2জন পেচেণ্টক আমি ৰিলিজ কৰিলোঁ ভগৱানে কৰিলে অহাকালি ৰাতিপুৱা 12 বজাৰ ভিতৰত আৰু আমি কিছু পেচেণ্টক ৰিলিজ কৰিব পাৰিম পৰহিও আমি পেচেণ্ট ৰিলিজ কৰিম 20 তাৰিখৰ ভিতৰত প্ৰায় 80% পেচেণ্ট আমি ৰিলিজ কৰিব পাৰিম আমাৰ ডক্টৰ নাৰ্ছ ল্যাব টেকনিশিয়ান স্যাম্পল কালেক্ট কৰা টেকনিশিয়ান আমাৰ গ্ৰেড 4 ষ্টাফৰ পৰা ক্লিনাৰলৈকে সকলোৰে যেটো সামূহিক প্ৰচেষ্টা এই প্ৰচেষ্টাত আজি আমি সফল হ'ব পাৰিছো বহুতখিনি
There you heard the Assam Health Minister. Assam targeted a 2 lakh buffer stock as far as PPE is concerned. The state already had 1 lakh PPE kits and 50,000 more kits coming in today. So this is the level of preparation that Assam is undertaking. Continues capacity building measures on a war footing, something exemplary that other states in the country can emulate, other states in the northeast can emulate, and of course Assam is leading from the front. 50,000 PPE kits transported from China by a special cargo flight.
And so now everything is will be all right.
So if we require, then we can requisition. We will be in a position to.
Okay, we can do it at short notice. In about 48 hours notice, we'll be able to bring your boat there. We are always
pallet problem is also now.
Everything is sorted. We went empty aircraft. We took pallets with us, so that next time when we go, the load will be ready. Everything will be ready. We can just load them.
China is normal.
China is normal, but people are still taking precautions. Mainly they are suffered because all the Chinese who have come back from other countries, they have brought the virus again. So that is the reason that.
But now you will be able to help us in 48 hours.
Yes, that's right.
Thank you, Captain. We are
Thank you
really
very much,
grateful.
sir. Thank you.
My Minister of State for
Good
Health,
evening. Good evening.
Principal Secretary
Good
Health,
evening.
Mr. Sinha.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
We are really feeling honored that you are here, personally.
This is so much. I mean, in today, if you give me diamond and PPE kits, I will take PPE. That is the situation.
Life of people